A minute and 2 down, that's going to be an ouch. 5 seconds though separate Aru and the 3 pursuers, including teammate Fulsang, who'll be hoping, if this turns into a sprint, including of course Chris Froome, that he doesn't. Oh, shoots by. Good work by the camera here, but you can see what pace they're going at. The camera bike, the man standing resting against the frame here, doing an absolutely superb job of bringing you these pictures in a very tight environment. Credit to them. Froome, Port, Fulsang, but not in that order at the moment. Froome, Fulsang, Port it is. And Port just doing a fantastic job of, I think, possibly now borrowing a few tips on the way down. Froome looks magnificent. He catches Aru. There it is. We saw them shoot by. The sub-camera bike was called out of the gap. And now we reassemble a quartet of greats. And it may well be it's Aru that's regained a place, if you like, in our consciousness. But frankly, here, Port and Froome, they're setting their stall out for this title here. This is an absolutely fearless bit of descending by Chris Froome, but the other riders, Aru has been caught. He conceded 14 seconds to Chris Froome. I've not seen Chris Froome descend like this. He's so determined. He's taking a few risks and he's putting the other riders on the ropes here, but Richie Port still staying in contact, just giving himself 6 or 7 lengths from the back wheel of Jakob Fulsang. But Chris Froome is so determined. Just that leg coming out, it's almost like we're watching MotoGP down this descent. This is a real thrill ride. Just make sure you're buckled in. Well, he has the power, and Chris Froome is just doing an absolutely beautiful job. Just look at all the lumps he's knocking out of these corners at the moment. He's smoothing the way, doing a fabulous job. Aru and Fulsang staying in touch. Richie Port is looking like the leader of this race in waiting right now. He just basically has to stay within this group. They can bring it home. He may not get the stage win today, Richie Port, but he should get the yellow jersey. Yeah, he's looking very good at the moment. He is clearly the best placed. So there is the positions on the road. You've got Dan Martin on his own at around 25 seconds, and then you have the Contador, Bardet and Valverde group at just over a minute, but the 4 riders in front seem to be moving away. Froome, Richie Port, Fabio Aru and Jakob Fulsang, but who will be the rider that prevails? They've still got numerous hairpins to negotiate before the run into the line. The last kilometre is straight. They've got one roundabout to negotiate, then the road swings left, and then they will see the finish open up, but still around 6 kilometres of hellish downhill to come. You know what, there's going to be some questions and a rueful smile or two at the dinner table today after that pass that Chris Froome made on Richie Port just as he was about to shave off an apex from a corner. Chris Froome came up the inside. Port was balked. I think there's probably a little bit of anger driving him on at the moment. They'll resolve it. They're good friends, but what a move that was. I think it was possibly the descending move of the day. There'll be a few more of those to add to the list, I'm sure, by the time we get to the bottom, and the bottom will approach in about 5k's time. Yeah, fair play to Chris Froome. He rode at such a measured climb, didn't panic. Great work by Emil Kwiatkowski, but now he's really got the bit between his teeth. He knew his form wasn't perhaps 100% going into this race, but now he's using his descending skills to his advantage. This is where the road surface changes. It's far better from this way down. While the motorbike get very close, just giving you a real impression of the skill set needed to negotiate these bends at this speed. There's still gradients of 12-14%. The ride is picking up speed so rapidly, and Froome is going away. He is. He's pulling away right now, and it's Fulsang that's going to set off after him. Aru can't keep up. Aru had a 14-second advantage, don't forget, as he went over the top, and Fulsang says, come on, get on my wheel, I'll guide you in, but he drifts away from Aru. Fulsang's got the capacity to win today. I think maybe he's been given a free pass by Aru at the moment to go and see what he can get out of it, and that will be a stage win. Meanwhile, what a run by Manny Buchmann. Here he is, nearest to us, another young German that will be riding himself, I think, into the young riders classification lead with this performance. What a fantastic... I haven't seen his deficit, actually. What is it overall? Well, Buchmann is a 1 minute and 37 down 17th place, so Buchmann is looking very good. He was just on the wheel of Romain Bardet, one of the favourites for this stage, but they're around, well, I think they're over, well, about 50 seconds behind, back to the front group. Still Richie Port in that 4th position. Chris Froome is now out of sight. It's Jakob Fulsang's second wheel. He's a couple of hairpins in front. What a descent by Chris Froome today. Impressive stuff. Well, equally from motorcycle camera here, he actually went cross-country a few moments ago just to try and keep up with these guys. You don't want to miss this battle because we cannot see it from the helicopter. That's the point. There's so much arboreal cover here. It's basically screening us. So all credit to the cameraman for keeping up, bringing you this action. There goes Froome, just disappearing round that headland almost here. He's set sail by the looks of things. 5.9 to go. I think they'll reassemble. I think it'll be Fuglsang that possibly takes the day. But nevertheless, Chris Froome's got a decent sprint about him as well, and Richie Porte driven on, I think, by adrenaline and possibly a little bit of anger about how he was passed on his mountain road. It shows, you know, a margin of error and indeed risks worth taking, and it's a question of judgment. Froome made the call as he made the pass, and he's reaping the dividends right now. This is absolutely superb, enthralling stuff. I'm hoping you're loving it as much as we are. I trust that's the case. Just under a minute, 5.3 kilometres to go. We've got a couple of Ks before we get to the bottom, and then there's roundabouts to deal with, but it's going to be a sprint of glory for this quartet.
Well, there's the graphic of the leading group on the road. There are the four main leading groups, separated by several hairpins. 5 kilometres to go, and the gap to the second group on the road is 58 seconds. And still Chris Froome presses on, accelerates hard out of that corner. He is descending like he's on rails, like an absolute demon. He knows he can descend well. He's clearly full of confidence, and he's got a point to prove. He's wearing number 1 on his back, and he wants to be number 1 today without a shadow of a doubt. He is tearing this climb apart. What a show.
Big questions asked in the time trial. Well, he's answered those today. He's put those to bed on this fantastic test that we've had, which is the cat. At the moment, he's springing and dancing, is he not? Off the hot tin roof and down onto the bottom here, where we will have our reasonably flat approach, considering what we've dealt with today. We've let the cat's tooth behind. Tomorrow, saber tooth, I think, are on the cards, and likewise we've got shark's teeth for the very final. It's a very, very, very focused run into the title here, and Chris Froome at the moment is looking very, very good, and that's good news for all cycling fans. He's a great champion. There have been some question marks about his preparation, indeed his levels at the moment. He said before he came to this race, all my numbers are there, and we said, well, numbers and racing are possibly different things. Well, now he's racing, and he's racing well.
Well, that is the last of the big hairpin bends. He is riding very, very well indeed. This is the route, the relay. Will he have a rider in contact that starts to relay with him? But Jakob Fuglsang has also ridden a very good descent. He finally gets back onto the wheel of Chris Froome. So there's a distinct gap between our two leaders now, Fabio Aru and Richie Porte. Now, Porte now using his power at this straighter section, less technical section, to try and get back in contact. All the hairpins are over, and say 3.5 kilometres to go. Has Porte got enough in the tank to get back in contact? Clearly had the power on the climb. He's now going to have to use that power on these flatter sections on the run into the line.
Well, it may well be a TT sprint between this pair. What an enthralling day this is. There's a big left-hander coming up, which will introduce us to a roundabout. That will be in about 600 metres time, so we'll finally be off the descent. Not quite finished with just for the time being, but as you can see, clearly less focused, and we're coming into the inhabited area again, so roads are wider, getting more choice, the surface is smoother, but it hasn't diminished the pace at all. They still hold a good advantage over the pursuers. It's down to 45 seconds, I'll just add, by the way, and now there's there's a quartet of chasers. Dan Martin, Ollie Nason, Manny Bookman, I think it's Alejandro Valverde who's left Contador and Bardet behind. We'll get checks on those for you in a few moments' time, but the leader has been dropped, and he's given no gap at the moment. That's Thomas de Gent. So we'll have a new leader, and the way it stands at the moment, no matter how they finish today, if this quartet come in together, then Richie Porte will lead this race. But who's going to take the stage? They've released the children to cheer them in. It's always a wonderful, wonderful sound. They get spat over to the raised paving here. There are a few bollards there as well, which thankfully were further down the road. Aru just starting to struggle right now. He put a lot into that climb. Great to see him back. 2 Ks to the arrival. Who's your pick?
Well, out of these, I've got a funny feeling there's going to be Jakob Fuglsang. Chris Froome put a lot in. It accelerated out of all of those hairpins, really applying the power, not just freewheeling down the descent, making sure they used every opportunity to try and open a gap. But the rider going to the front, remember, riding for time is Richie Porte. He's opened up a bit of a gap. Interesting there, Fuglsang, a bit of brinkmanship, playing out that classic game of poker. and forcing Richie Porte to go to the front. It's the Astana riders with the most to gain. They both know that Richie Porte and Chris Froome are up to take time. They want to try and put as much time as they can in between him and Bardet, also Alejandro Valverde, and of course Alberto Contu aren't too far behind. And now Aru starts to assist with the pacemaking, leaving Fuglsang in a very, very strong position for the sprint.
Checks over his shoulder. Aru then just gets onto the back wheel of Richie Porte, who flicks the elbow out and says, come on, let's deliver this together. Froome stays here as well, and Fuglsang goes over the top, and I think they'll let him have his fun. They're not going to burn themselves up, are they? Well, Chris Froome decides to set off after him, and Richie Porte says, well, I'll have that train if you don't mind. He sits himself in the caboose there. As you can see, Aru struggles to stay with. Fuglsang looks like he's got this wrapped up. Thought that would be the case out of this quartet. My pick for the day, Chris Froome, is also here, and these guys are closing. They've got to be careful that they don't get caught out, but I think they've got enough of a gap. It was 40 seconds last time I looked. Can't see what the gap is at the moment, but the 650 or so meters remaining only, and it's going to be a duke out for the line here. There's Contador, done a terrific job of getting himself here. Ollie Nason has actually managed to do a good job of staying with, and here we are, they're rolling with it, and Fuglsang hasn't managed to ditch them. So, could it possibly be Froome or Porte that takes a stage win? If you're going to win the title, you always love to have a stage win in the bag as well. It kind of adds credence to your victory, as if anyone needs that with these guys around. They've got 200 meters to go. Here is Dan Martin at the moment with Valverde, and it's time for a sprint, and Froome picks it up. Froome's determined here. Froome's looking very, very good. Oh, there goes Fuglsang as well, who's coming back at him. Porte's on the barriers, and he comes through as well. He does to Froome what he did to him on the descent. Oh, it's three at the line. I think Fuglsang just got it from Porte with Froome in third place. But what a finish that was.
Well, I think it was that Richie Porte might have just got that on the line, but blimey, Chris Froome almost put Richie Porte into the barriers. There was just enough room on the inside. Porte was in a slightly bigger gear, had enough power to go through. We'll get confirmation of that, but what an exciting finish. Meanwhile, a little bit further down the road, this is Romain Bardet, Alejandro Valverde and Dan Martin just coming into the finish, fighting for their GC places.
What a day, what a day. We're waiting for an official result. I don't know why we're going GC at the moment. Let's have a look at these guys come in, and this should be Valverde. Valverde just finds a little bit of a push here, and he would have thrived better in the mountains, I think, today. Certainly looked that way. So Valverde with Dan Martin and Bardet, as we look further back down, and we wait here for Nason with Contador, who will come in as well. They can all be proud of themselves today. I'm proud of Richie Porte for not just faltering on the descent there, and in fact that Bookman just coming in right now as well, absolutely superb. Wow, what a day. Fuglsang takes it ahead of Porte and Froome. There's your 1, 2, 3 at the line. Porte, I thought, had found a way of getting through on the barriers, taking the tight line that Froome had dealt.